Run, darling, run. Feeder fishing UA. Hello friends. We are on another feeder fishing trip, as the name suggests, or description. We came today to catch spring carp. First fine day. In the Moscow region. Before that there was cold weather, a week of rain and so on. I successfully caught pike. And decided to come to the same reservoir. This body of water is called Sarajan Lake. This is a bunch of reservoirs, where you can catch crucian carp in a separate reservoir. Here are carp pike in the distance. There are both amur and crucian carp. There are all kinds of fish there, and there are trophy pikes too. The main goal, of course, catch carp. The second goal, which is also no less important. This is how my subscribers know. This is the final test of the forms. I write reports and full reviews on blunts. Only after that, how they caught bream in a standing water. There are crucian carp in running water on a stream of bream. Then I go fishing for carp. And then I fully understand what kind of form it is. What conditions is it ideally suited for, and how is it universal today it is. Two forms which I will tell you about later. This is the handle of the landing net. How is she able to work with carp F1 and thicker and accordingly. Mona Leska, which I really liked. All this is the brand Elegance, which is completely new on the Russian market. Well, friends, I won't torment you. I'll start with the most delicious. That's of course Lucerne Feeder blank 3 and 6 up to 80 grams. This is the brand Elegance. Method series. Certainly. This reservoir is of course the target fish for this form. But his system helps to catch on absolutely thin leashes. Small hooks. Large enough fish and do not drain it. I think it will be visible in the footage. And laying out and casting. The form is closer to a parabolic than to a fast one. It's also impossible to call it a rope. It was today that I realized this, when I pulled out the Carp 2+. He doesn't make this form an absolute rope, which does not control the carp hatching, especially along the coastline. Dangerous corners of the form. He has some reserve left. I think there are carps there up to 4-5. They can do absolutely some kind of a bun with it, but not less than the main one. It's still the principle. Fishing distance, which this form allows you to perform without straining at all. Flat will fly away in 70 and 80 meters. Window feeders, or feeders with a capacity of 40 milliliters. Very calmly on monofilament lines 50 to 60 meters fly away. Accuracy may be lacking, because you understand that monk still has elasticity, no matter how they write that it is super non-stretchable. Also the form is quite soft. The accuracy will still be a little lacking when catching bream. In a stagnant body of water, the form is simply super top. I won't go into any details today. This is conditional on the fittings in some kind of there. I won't say anything about carbon indicators either. All this will be in a detailed review, for each form individually. In essence at the moment, with all the fishing bream platva. And in the winter period and accordingly now carp. This is just my number one form. Its only downside so far is the catching. On the river. What is a river? The river is different everywhere. Rivers accordingly including different sections are different. There are fast current ones. That is 80 grams where it is on the edge. This form has absolutely nothing to do when it is fully loaded. And if this is a river, it definitely must have some Russian canals. Eyebrows, there will be nothing to do with this form. If it is a stagnant body of water at full load, there will be no questions for him at all. A strong stream is not his strong point. I certainly understand that I am speaking from the form of the method series. And I understand perfectly. No one is going to push it into the rivers with a stream there. 100 plus there, or even the same there, I don't know. 80 plus and so on. Rivers like Moscow River, in its urban part. Over 50. I tried to catch 60 grams and 70 grams. It's quite yourself a working weight for this form. Besides that it won't be tied in a knot on this stream. He still copes quite well with laying out short brolocks. That is, for the sports format this is a plus. Cool fittings. Plus it's all Fuji. It's all Sigades. This is cool fittings. And the price list first of all says that, well, it should cost more. In today's reality. But the price is more than interesting. This is already a bit of an advertisement. In fact, I will definitely order this form for myself. In sport mode. A double is a must, if not a couple. This form is currently for the last 2 to 3 months. My top pick. Next form. Next form. This is Elegance already professional feeder series, not method with growth of 3 and 9. 3 and 9 and 120 grams dough. What is it for? For the most part. Maximum versatility. This form is in first place. Compared even to that method. The form I just told you about. This form has enormous versatility. Distant frontiers. No problem, let's go 70 meters and 80 meters with certain skills. But I will not speak for any raised boundaries. And you can throw both 80 and 90. I mean a calm, stress-free cast of 70 meters. Any absolutely weight according to the test, there are no problems. Quite a collected formation. Closer to fast. This is practically the same one. The system that has conquered there for the last 5 to 6 years. Feeder market. This is the so-called progressive system. This is the first third works very well. When casting, the entire blank is turned on for playing, respectively depending on the load. The same. I used it to fish in the current with a full load of about 100 grams. There are no questions. No tops, and the knee itself is correspondingly upper. Does not curl into an arc. The only thing what seemed to me is that this form has a long handle. It seems to me that such a handle should already go under 4.2. Possibly the manufacturer. This handle is set to 4 and 2 and to 3 and 9. If the handle is shorter, long distances there 70 and further can be forgotten. Because you understand perfectly well that the throw is first and foremost a lever. If a person holds himself like this, he has no lever. If he holds it with a long grip, his lever is almost a meter long. Therefore there are no questions about him on distant frontiers. There are no questions about him on the river. On standing water bodies. Bream fishing in standing water. There are roaches and so on. Yes, the form has such an opportunity. It will be possible to use it, but it will be a little rough. What I mean is these are leashes 0, 91 there 08, he will be rude. Despite their feedergamo and so on. He is still a bit rude though. But if you work on distant frontiers, or a large feeder for food, you can't avoid it anyway. So this can still be considered a plus. Now on carp fishing, he demonstrates himself at all, just from the best side. Only a third of the people work on the trolleybuses, only some 2+ sits down. The form starts to turn on and just to the line. It's coming as well as Plusen in the method series. He just starts to bend over the middle too. This is very cool, considering that there is a feeder there 40 grams, and there is a good carp there 230. That is, the form is definitely included. These are not the forms that 1/3 worked on, and you won't be able to load it further. It's just reinforcement. This form specifically works. The brake here is of very high quality. Coil holder all Fuji. It is ergonomic as on Lucene. Only here the generation is more fashionable, newer with lock nut. The fittings are cool. Ergonomic handle. Ergonomic, and accordingly on Lucene the same. These forms are all for everyone. Brendeligans very cool tops. I like this double color red. And a little bit of white. In cloudy weather or bright sunny, no problems with surveillance. There won't be any finishing touches at all, in essence. I've tested it again. The coil is also completely new to me. Now it's generally first. Once went out on the water. GTA Village Distance Feeder 630. So seasoned. Long distance reel by pulling force. Seasoned reel wound fishing line. About which today. That's exactly what I want to tell you next. This fishing line is wound end on the Illusion, which is 3 and 6 to 80 in the Method series. Here too, this fishing line is wound on a reel in 1/431,000. And accordingly there I already said what kind of coil is there. What other cool nuances are there? In the Pro series this is form 39120. He works with this monk, which has minimal stretchability in comparison with some specialized carp monks. Minimum stretch. Since the form is quite assembled fast, you can still classify it as such. Long cast on Mona line for 40 plus meters. As accurate as possible, because the form is rigid, Monka has some stretch. And here with this small amplitude and with incomplete loading of the form, perfect precision. While blank illusion. In 3 and 6 and test 80. Here you can probably write it off as a test. 80 grams with a softer action. With a feeder there in 40 grams and food, it will probably be under 60. And most importantly, monofilament lines with minimal stretch. There will be questions. As soon as you leave there for a distance of 40 plus. Even in such absolute calm, starts to screw up a little, because the form is soft. The Manochka is tightening up a little. It's not exactly a controlled throw. But I'm talking to most of them again now, with sporty tendencies. While I have a lot of friends who are not into sports, are keen on fishing and want to get the most out of it, such a form is a pleasure. You're reaching with this monocle, with a soft form. The alignment is perfect. The form just starts working, and the most important thing I forgot to say, that carp are brought here by loose. Out of 5 all 5 have no desire to move at all. Just net the fish and take it. While they bring in 120 gray carp, which starts even on the coastline. Run, jump and hop. That is, the form does not exhaust him. And Lycian in the Method series simply brings carp, who is already tired of bending this form. He wears him out pretty quickly. And now the riot police. What kind of omong is this? Why did I choose her? I chose this line almost instantly. I received several samples and variations. After I took it out of the box. Unwound. I realized that she has toughness. I love the hardness of Nimona Lesk. A fresh fishing line clicks just in time. If you just lower it, now of course the wind is not blowing. If you just lower it, it is as straight as possible. Considering that she doesn't know how long this reel has existed. Factory winding. The line is as straight as possible, but it is quite tough. Has virtually no memory. What's the point of this rigidity? Most often, a rigid fishing line has low stretchability. I checked its stretchability compared to classic monks. Which feeders are there, match and so on. She is much tougher. A little louder in the rings, yes. But at a distance of 40 meters. You can catch absolutely any fish with such a monk. I was immediately captivated by it. The color black is of course cool. Of course this immediately takes away the attention of professionals. All lovers of this relate more or less. Older people think the opposite, that it should be bright. Black is the most optimal color, besides the fact that it has very cool rigidity in the rings, a little bit chia. Louder than its softer counterparts. But it preserves perfectly. Line at maximum emission. Holds knots very well. Quite resistant to torture. And the main advantage is that it is in its price segment. Unwinding goes 275 meters, 275 meters. I know many. Take the fishing line. Unwind it, sawn in half and wound onto 2 spools. With the aim of saving money. Yes, of course it's cool. I don't do that. I just wind it completely without baking. As much as fits. It's 200 meters for sure. These remaining 70 of course are neither here nor there. Well, sometimes I use them as leashes. Sometimes I use them as leashes for the outlet. For branch mounting. And so on for some twists. The shorter line won't go anywhere. The most important thing on such a run, if you are going to catch a trophy fish, you will need this, when you have to drop and catch the lip. Fish just there with the steamer, with a locomotive since the leads are 18th and so on. You will have to one way or another give the fish the line through the friction clutch. Here this winding will be more than enough. At a distance of 40 meters. That's how I caught it today. You don't have to remove the clip. If you wind the monk elephant there on pencils, on the handle on some wooden pieces, you start to reach for some metal devices. Yes, it has practically no stretch. Yes, it's cool, but at a distance of 40 meters one way or another everything, equal amplitude. There is still some springing. Today with fish. The largest probably 230 carbal poimen. I didn't remove the clip at all, I just lift the form. This depreciation is enough, plus shock absorption in a Mona leash form. Main Mona. That was quite enough, so that the car simply moves from the point to the left to the right, but I held it on the clip. I did this especially today all day long 20. 0.25 diameter. Today I wound another 0. 22 22 holds this carp well without removing the clip. I have no questions about this fishing line. I highly recommend it. For classic feeder fishing for bream, plattevy and now also carp. Of course, the Elegance brand has it too, fishing lines that have greater stretch. They come in 150 unwinding, that's also a Pro Series method computation. Of course, as they all write. And any manufacturer that this is a fishing line there is fast seeking. Sinking very quickly, almost completely flooding. Of course any mono material will sink. No matter how fast or slow, it doesn't matter which of us is a fisherman. No one will check this. Leskiv. After hitting the clip, the feeder falls accordingly. Tension occurs. Everything is fine. She will definitely drown. The abrasion indicators for this line are much lower. Well, not much, probably 20%. Still on some pebbles. I've already seen the shells of the cuts. I haven't seen such nuances on black fishing line. So you choose for yourself. And you catch carp directly. Take a line with a higher stretch. If you want something universal, definitely pay attention. On this fishing line in black. About series, this is the most universal format, which you won't have to remove. How durable is it and how long will it last? I can't say how long I'll live yet. I used Flagnovsky Fidrin Match lines Mona, which has stretchability and good. About 40% probably These lines are wound on a reel. I went to Udomlia with 3 winters. Carp fishing also 3 seasons. That is, Mona Leska lived for 3 years and she is still alive. I will periodically take her out to see where her edge is. When will it end? There is no super strong diameter, there is 0.25. A Mona Leska is still alive. The only thing after fishing, I usually clean a couple of meters there. This is precisely the most visited area, as if I had no complaints about the fishing line either. Let's see how long this line will last. In our reality. Boy's hands. This pen came to me immediately after the exhibition. I got it especially for myself. I put it aside for one simple reason. I have almost all the pens. There is even a 5-meter one. In sport mode, the main thing is to quickly throw away the pen, as long as possible. To get the fish into the landing net as quickly as possible. Plus, we work with different forms 4 and 2. And a 4 meters handle is needed anyway, to remove this maximally dangerous angle of attack. That's why 4 are universal after all. You can remove the knee, there will be 3 and so on. For such formats there are trainings. Amateur trips. There are no filming trips. I was looking for a pen. In a 3-meter version. I just noticed this pen. In the relatively inexpensive segment. Pen Tour Master 3 and 3. The cool thing about this pen is that she has accordingly such cap semi-metallic protection. And my favorite lid. Which everyone usually loses, to my surprise. And accordingly the whole handle is collected in this knee. To my surprise, it fits just perfectly. Without removing it, so this is probably the only handle, which I will have left with the cap. Forever and won't get lost. The pen is the only thing suffered for a dozen fishing trips. A few scratches on the cat, because it travels in a case along with the forms. But all these scratches are Kotskis as I understand it. It's not even carbon. This is the top coating, on which all this is accordingly applied. Painted a letter structure. Then 2 knees the handle consists of 3. This is such a non-polished carbon, with some traces straight from the film Another interesting point is that there is arrows moment from docking possible. This handle was unbalanced. And it is marked in this very position. Because the handle with its belly catching format. There can be no claims against her, because there are breams there. Well, 2 kilograms, well, 3. Well, everything seems to be going well. Well, at least I'm there on 2 kilogram things. I tested it out well. There are no questions. Today I checked it with Carp. There were no questions either. The biggest carp is there 230. It worked fine without an outstretched arm. And on the dragging accordingly calm. Extract one more of these cool nuances here. At its thinnest part. Very cool gain with winding. Metal insert. Which in theory should have weight well. If you have a kid's head there is not much overload. I have a headache right now. I don't know, it's probably some size 60 according to Carp. Forestry in general, this construction weighs nothing. The rigidity is not maximum. But within the above average range, I would call it that. The handle is simply the most versatile and lightweight. In his performance, here you hold it with one hand. Well, there is a little bit of tension. If you hold it like this, you have no questions for her at all. That is, my task was to understand how suitable will it be for catching small fish accordingly, and how will it be suitable for fishing. And more precisely, Carp is netted, an absolutely universal pen for reasonable money. I would call it like this. Well, a little bit of course. I'll tell you about fishing. At Sarioga's lakes, of course you have to try really hard to be left without fish. Because densely populated. I know that a couple of weeks ago there was a carp launch. About a ton. Oh bang, just falling on the fish. The feeder hit. Well, since I'm there now, communicated more with you. I'll still finish feeding the point. I have a form just for this, which I didn't talk about today. Because he, according to its functionality, will differ little from forms 3 and 9. This is form 3 and 6, in 2 series up to 100 grams. This form is also extremely universal. Today I have it assembled with the main cord and performs the function. Supplementary form. Those who want to see carp catch in detail. How I fish, how I work on the tier How do I lower this fish? How I follow her in during the day when she pecks there from the bottom of the tiers, when needed before feeding, what types of food should there be, and so on. Today we won't discuss these nuances, but yeah, definitely works. The standard is so classic. That is, in their fishing trips, I most often use with a pump. That is, the form is waiting for a bite. And we're getting to the point. Add whole corn with pamba. Maybe also maggots, with pomp touching. Water throws all this out, and carefully lowers the fish from the tier down. Today the feeder performs the function, which falls to my count of 6. I shake it out on the count of 3. 2. I don't stuff the food like that with corn maggots and just shake out the tiers. Thus I lower the fish. It's already closer to lunchtime. The fish definitely rose higher. And you only have to lower it. Respectively. Bright food. Smelling delicious. And a live component along with corn, of course. Where would we be without her? The composition of the bait today is also interesting. Corn format is a classic accordingly. Where would we be without her? 3 packs in. 2 packs of Tutti Frutti. Tutti Frutti is a new product. Yes. Branding and fishing. In the series Carpro, which I'm currently testing out. I was honestly afraid for one simple reason. The water hasn't warmed up much yet. And perhaps the carp will get all these Citrus tones might not be very pleasing. But I will say this. The fish is biting. Everything is fine. And the most important nuance, in this bait mix, 2 packs of Tutti Frutti beat 3 packs of corn feed. That's why I also use aroma corn, which I pour directly from above into the bait and until moistened, until the desired consistency is reached when the fish swims to work on the bottom. And so that more, maximally accordingly, the aroma was from corn. In a blender, of course. We finish cutting the corn together with the maggots. We make an absolute undercut. We start making caslo and it's just absolute soup. Some roach comes running right away, as I call pike food here. Roach rushes to the hook, regardless of the size and thickness of the wire. Trying to get dressed, if the nozzle accordingly minced corn it pulls, knocks down, and that's where it ends. So that the roach eats its fill and leaves faster. Have to make an undercut, so that these components saturate it as quickly as possible. As always, I immediately got to the top on hooks. This is a hook. Barbel series in issue 12. On this reservoir and on other paid lakes, this hook just performs a function. 100% implementation. This hook is the same as in the previous series I told you about free reservoirs. After bending it has some offset from the bending axis. In a lateral position, in a vertical position, horizontally simply perfectly implements fish. If the carp side back he will have no options. I tried F1 carp, of course. Seemed more heavy in standard form. Although their shape is more or less similar. But there were problems in implementation. That is, there was a reset. You cut in, there's no one there. Ah, pulled, you hook there. That is 50-50. With barbel there are no questions at all. At one time I caught the words of the nodding of the striberans. He just performs with flying colors. Hook just number 1 for me when fishing for carp in commercial waters. If there are any big fish there, bream and so on large nozzles, there are worms there and 3 maggots to number 1. Leader line today 0. 18 didn't even bother. I wore it with 153 a couple of times. I realized that there is no difference. Just went to increase. To freely carry these little dogs and watch. How does the form work? But we'll catch up now. Because it's huge. Here is this taste table. Was practically of no use. Our living component is in the form of maggots and worms. Thanks to the Kirill Dacha Plus store, who always have it in abundance. Can be pre-ordered. And get it in any volumes that interest you. Maggot is in favorites today. Worm is not in favorite. Corn in favorite. Carp fishing standard on commercial waters. Cool day. Now let's see what turned out right. Well, what do you think, friends? Oh, and the fishing took place. And I finished and revised my forms. Now you too have some understanding. To full reviews. What gear should you choose? In order to catch fish in addition to, and get real pleasure from it. There is no point in chasing super expensive forms. Buying super cheap ones is useless. That's why you need to choose the right ones. Balanced gear for reasonable money. What do I do for you? And thank you. What did you watch? Put likes. Be sure to repost. And see you on new feeder fishing trips. And where will you find out if you subscribe to the channel? Thanks everyone, bye.